March 31st, 1987 is a special date in music history. We saw the release of Prince's, in my opinion, his masterpiece, Sign of the Times. It was a double album. It came out of the ashes of abandoned projects, one from the Revolution called Dream Factory, a solo record where he was going to change his voice in a higher register or a more female sounding character called Camille. Those projects were abandoned. He put the songs together and made Crystal Ball. Warner Brothers kind of scoffed at the idea of a triple album because his sales weren't very consistent. You know, Purple Rain, Around the New World, and they didn't sell as much. Neither did Parade. Although they were great albums, they didn't sell as much as Purple Rain. So the company was going, that's a gamble. It's a lot of money, and we're not ready to do that. So he kind of removed, I think, about 7 songs, added the title track, Sign of the Times, and we saw that album come to fruition. It's comprised of 16 tracks. You've got gospel, blues, rock, pop, everything you wonder. It's Prince's look at the world, cultural and social commentary from the 80s. So it dealt with the uprising of, poverty, the divorce rate, AIDS, drug use, gang wars through his eyes. And as bad as it was, there was always that balance of we can make things better with music and laughter. And that was the magic of this album. For every dark track, there was a light one to counteract that. And that's the beauty of this album. It was basically you were watching or seeing the world through Prince's eyes, and it was like a dreamlike experience at the time. I remember listening it to my headphones, coming home and playing this record. There's a certain song called "If I Was Your Girlfriend," where a guy is talking to his girlfriend, saying, "I wish you would tell me the intimate details about our feelings like you do with your other girlfriend." And there's one moment where he goes, "You can picture. I want us to sit down, lie down together, and listen to what silence looks like." And you stopped and went, "Silence? Let's listen to what silence looks like." That album just teleported you to a different place. And not many albums do that, especially a double album that can bring you along through 2 discs of music. And that was phenomenal. It's still one of my favorite albums of all time. I highly recommend, if you like Prince, if you like pop, if you like any album that will represent the 80s. And yes, the drum machines on here do represent that time, but it in no way it hinders the listening experience. Prince's voice, Prince's ability to play the instruments, the way he conveys the message takes you on a trip and you don't even notice it. It's one of those few albums that no matter how dated it would sound otherwise, it doesn't. Prince says this is a magic. This is how you originally got it. It was 2 discs as opposed to the remastered edition that came out. Very, very different, but nonetheless, my go-to and one of my favorite albums of the 80s, of all time. This is one of those albums that, if you can put on your headphones, lie down, and just drift away with this thing. This takes you on a real wicked trip, and I highly recommend this. If you're into Prince at all or slightly and never listened to this album, you need to do this once in your life. This is one of those magical albums. This is like Exile on Main Street from the Stones, the Beatles' White Album. That's up there. One of those magical double disc albums that an artist is at his creative peak and the ideas are just pouring out of him. And there's not he you can he I don't think he even had enough with the 3 disc set, to be honest. I'm sure he had more songs just ready to go, and I think this is just compressing all that. And still, it's a wicked ride, and I would love to have seen what he would have done with a triple set of this. That's been my fantasy, to see where he would have gone, because he was, like I said, at that moment in time, music was just pouring out of him, and it was an amazing time, the 80s, and one of the albums that will always represent the 80s for me, the magic, how you could talk about uh, the apocalyptic territory, social commentary, cultural commentary, all at the same time through catchy lyrics and a good hook. There was no period like it. I don't think there'll ever going to be another period like that again, and there'll never be an album like this again. He was a master. This is where he showed that he can do any type of genre, and he can do it as good as the masters. I think the only other people that could rival him at that time in terms of quality of music was McCartney and Stevie Wonder. I think there was nobody else that could touch him. But that's my opinion. You let me know if you have this album. What do you think of this album? Do you think it's his best? A lot of people always say Purple Rain, but I think an artistic statement, this is the one. You let me know. I'll put a couple of songs down below. Listen to them. Let me know what you think. We'd love to hear from you. This is Steven wishing Sign of the Times a happy 40th anniversary.